Come in before you die out there. The words hung in the frozen air like a verdict. Evelyn Harper's hand trembled on the doorknob, but her voice didn't waver. 5 massive men stood on her porch, leather tattoos, blood dripping onto her welcome mat. The blizzard screamed behind them. Every instinct told her to slam the door, lock it, call someone. But the youngest one swayed, his face gray as death, and she saw her own grandson in his eyes. She stepped back. The door opened wider. Get inside, now. The leader's eyes locked onto hers, sharp, dangerous, searching for the trick. There wasn't one. Just a 72-year-old woman who'd already buried everyone she loved and wasn't about to watch 5 more people freeze to death on her doorstep. Before we go any further, if you want to see where this impossible night leads, hit that subscribe button right now. And I mean it, because what happens in this house will change everything you think you know about strangers, survival, and second chances. Drop a comment telling me what city you're watching from. I want to see how far this story travels. Trust me, you need to stay until the very end. This isn't just a story, it's a reckoning. The first biker through the door was the one bleeding. He stumbled across the threshold and nearly went down, caught at the last second by a man twice his size. Evelyn didn't flinch. She pointed toward the couch, her late husband's couch, the one she'd been meaning to recover for 3 years but never had the money. Put him there, gently. The big man obeyed without a word. That's when she knew something was different. Men like this didn't take orders from women like her. Not in her experience, not in this world. The others filed in behind them, snow falling off their shoulders in clumps boots, tracking slush across her clean floor. She didn't care about the floor. The youngest one was shaking so hard his teeth chattered like dice in a cup. Close the door, Evelyn said. You're letting the heat out. The last man, in tall, broad-shouldered, with eyes like fractured ice, turned and shut it. The sound of the lock clicking felt final, irreversible. Now they were all inside. 5 strangers. 5 men who looked like they'd walked out of her worst nightmares. And Evelyn Harper alone. She moved toward the couch. What happened to him? Cut, the big man said. His voice was deep, rough as gravel. Caught it on a broken fence about 40 miles back. Hasn't stopped bleeding. Evelyn knelt down beside the young man. His face was pale, lips almost blue. The gash on his forearm was deep, ugly, still oozing. She'd seen worse. Her husband had worked construction for 30 years. She knew what real damage looked like. I need clean water, she said, towels, and a sewing kit. One of them laughed, short, bitter. You gonna stitch him up, Grandma? She looked up. Her eyes were calm, steady. Unless you brought a doctor with you, yes. The laughter died. The tall one, the leader, she could tell by the way the others looked at him, stepped forward. We don't want trouble. We'll pay you. Just let us warm up, patch him up, and we'll be gone by morning. I didn't ask you to leave, Evelyn said. I asked for water and towels. His expression shifted, just barely. Something flickered behind the coldness. Caleb, he said. What? My name, Caleb Rhodes. She stood wiping her hands on her jeans. Evelyn Harper. And if you want your friend to keep that arm, Caleb, you'll help me move faster. He nodded once, then turned to the others. Do what she says. They scattered. Within 5 minutes, her tiny living room had transformed into a makeshift field hospital. Towels spread across the couch. A pot of water heating on the stove. Her sewing kit, barely used since Richard died, open on the coffee table. Evelyn soaked a clean cloth in warm water and pressed it against the wound. The young man hissed, jerking back. Stay still, she said firmly. This is going to hurt, but if you move, it'll hurt worse. Listen to her, Danny, Caleb said from behind her. Danny, so the boy had a name. She worked quickly, cleaned the wound, wiped away the dried blood. The gash was deep, but not impossible. She'd stitched up Richard more times than she could count. Her hands remembered. This is going to sting, she warned. Danny nodded, jaw clenched. She threaded the needle. The first stitch went in clean. Danny didn't scream, but his whole body went rigid. One of the other men stepped closer, watching. His name was Garrett, she'd heard Caleb say it earlier. Garrett had a scar running down the side of his face, and his eyes never stopped moving, checking exits, watching windows. You've done this before, Garrett said. My husband was a stubborn man, Evelyn replied, pulling the thread through. Never went to the hospital unless he absolutely had to, so I learned. He a doctor? No, just cheap. A few of them smiled, not much, but enough. She finished the stitches, 12 in total, and tied off the thread. Then she wrapped the wound in clean strips torn from one of her old sheets. Richard's sheets, the ones she hadn't been able to bring herself to throw away. There, she said, sitting back. Keep it clean. Change the bandage every day. If it gets red or hot, you need real medicine, antibiotics. Danny looked up at her, his face still pale, but no longer gray. Thank you. She patted his shoulder. You're welcome, sweetheart. Caleb moved closer. What do we owe you? Evelyn stood brushing off her knees. You don't owe me anything. We're not charity cases. I didn't say you were. She met his eyes without flinching. But you're not paying me for doing what's right. His jaw tightened. He wasn't used to this. She could see it. Men like him were used to transactions. Everything had a price, but not this, not tonight. You hungry? She asked. Garrett blinked. What? I asked if you're hungry. I got soup on the stove. Not much, but it's hot. They stared at her like she'd just spoken another language. Ma'am, Caleb said slowly, you don't have to. I know I don't have to, Evelyn interrupted. I'm offering. Now sit down before it gets cold. She turned and walked into the kitchen before any of them could argue. The soup was nearly gone. She'd been stretching it for 3 days, adding water each time to make it last. There was maybe enough for 2 bowls. Maybe. But she had 5 men in her living room, so she added more water. A bit of salt, some pepper, a handful of dried herbs she'd been saving. She stirred it slowly, watching the steam rise, and prayed it would be enough. When she brought it out, they were sitting awkwardly around her small living room. Big men in a small space. Caleb on the armchair. Garrett and another man, shorter, stockier, with a shaved head on the floor. Danny still on the couch. And the 5th one, the quiet one who hadn't said a word yet, standing near the window. She handed out bowls, mismatched, chipped, the same ones she'd been eating from alone for 2 years. It's not much, she said. Caleb took a sip, then another. He didn't say anything, but his shoulders dropped just slightly. The tension easing. It's perfect, Garrett said quietly. The quiet one by the window finally spoke. His voice was soft, almost gentle. When's the last time you ate, ma'am? Evelyn smiled. I'm fine. That's not what I asked. She looked at him. Really looked. He was younger than the others, maybe 30. His eyes were kind. Yesterday, she lied. He didn't believe her, she could tell. But he didn't push. They ate in silence, all of them. Every drop. When the bowls were empty, Caleb set his down carefully on the coffee table. You gave us your last food. I'll manage. You shouldn't have to. Evelyn shrugged. We all do things we shouldn't have to. Garrett leaned forward. Why'd you let us in? She looked at him, then at the others. 5 dangerous men, 5 strangers, and yet, because you knocked, she said simply, and I couldn't live with it myself if I didn't answer. The quiet one by the window turned away. His shoulders shook, just once. Caleb's hands curled into fists on his knees. Not angry, something else, something deeper. You don't know us, he said. No, Evelyn agreed, but I know cold, and I know what it's like to need help and not get it. What happened? She hesitated, then sighed. My husband died 2 years ago, heart attack. 1 minute he was fine, the next. She trailed off. I couldn't afford the funeral I wanted. Had to sell almost everything just to bury him with dignity. The house needs repairs I can't pay for. The heat barely works. I eat once a day if I'm lucky. She smiled sadly. But I've still got a roof and a door, and tonight that was enough. No one spoke. Danny's eyes were wet. Garrett looked away. The quiet one walked to the other side of the room and stood with his back to them. And Caleb just stared at her like he was seeing something he didn't understand, something that didn't fit into the world he knew. You should have called the cops, he said finally. Why, because He stopped, shook his head. We're not good people. Evelyn tilted her head. Are you going to hurt me? No. Are you going to steal from me? No. Then what makes you not good? He didn't have an answer. She stood gathering the empty bowls. You can sleep here tonight. I've got blankets. Not many, but enough. In the morning, if the storm's passed, you can go. Where will you sleep? Garrett asked. My room, same as always. We're taking your whole living room. Then I guess you'd better not snore too loud. A couple of them laughed, quiet, surprised. She brought out blankets, old ones, thin ones. Her good ones had been sold months ago, but she gave them everything she had. Caleb watched her the entire time, watched her move through the house like she wasn't afraid, like she wasn't alone with 5 men who could overpower her in seconds. And he realized something. She wasn't naive. She knew exactly what she was doing. She was choosing to trust them. That was harder to accept than fear. "Ma'am," he said as she turned to leave. She paused. "Thank you," she smiled. "You already said that." "I meant it the first time. I mean it more now." She nodded, then walked down the narrow hallway toward her bedroom. The door closed softly behind her. The 5 men sat in silence. Finally, Garrett spoke. "What the hell just happened?" Caleb didn't answer. He was staring at the closed door, at the faded wallpaper, at the patched curtains, at the cracked ceiling. This woman had nothing, and she'd given them everything. "We leave at first light," he said quietly. "Yeah," Garrett agreed, but none of them slept. Danny lay on the couch staring at the stitches in his arm. The quiet one sat by the window watching the snow fall. The stocky man stretched out on the floor, hands behind his head, eyes open. Garrett leaned against the wall, and Caleb sat in the armchair, hands steepled under his chin, thinking about the woman asleep down the hall, thinking about the life she'd lost, thinking about the kindness she'd shown when the world had shown her none. Somewhere around 3 in the morning, Danny spoke. "I don't want to leave." "We have to," Caleb said. "I know, but I don't want to." No one argued, because they all felt it. This house, this broken, freezing, falling apart house felt safer than anywhere they'd been in years, not because of the walls, because of her. Morning came slow and gray. The storm had passed, but the cold hadn't. Evelyn woke early like always and made her way to the kitchen. She expected them to be gone. Part of her hoped they would be. It would be easier that way. But when she stepped into the living room, they were all still there. Awake, waiting. Caleb stood when he saw her. "Morning." "Morning," she replied. "Storm's over." "Yeah." She glanced toward the window. The street was buried in snow. "Roads will be bad for a while. We'll manage." She nodded, started to turn toward the kitchen. "Mrs. Harper." She stopped. Caleb pulled something from his jacket, a thick envelope. He held it out. "I can't take your charity," he said, "but I can pay for the food, the bandages, the roof over our heads." Evelyn looked at the envelope, then at him. "I told you, you don't owe me." "I know, but I'm asking you to take it anyway." She shook her head. "No." His hand didn't move. "Please." "Caleb," her voice was gentle but firm, "I didn't help you for money. I helped you because it was the right thing to do. And if you give me that, it stops being the right thing. It becomes a transaction, and I don't want that." He stared at her, his jaw working, muscles tight. Then slowly he lowered his hand. "What's your full name?" he asked. She blinked. "What?" "Your name, your full name." "Evelyn Marie Harper. Why?" He pulled a small notebook from his pocket, wrote it down, then her address. "What are you doing?" she asked. "Remembering him," he said simply. He tucked the notebook away, then looked at the others. "Let's go." They stood, gathered their things. Danny moved carefully, favoring his arm but steady on his feet. One by one they filed toward the door. Garrett stopped in front of her. "You're a hell of a woman, Mrs. Harper." She smiled. "You're not so bad yourself." The quiet one paused, looked like he wanted to say something. Couldn't find the words. So he just nodded. Danny hugged her. She didn't expect it, but she hugged him back. Tight. "Take care of that arm," she whispered. "I will." And then it was just Caleb. He stood in the doorway, snow falling behind him, and looked at her one last time. "I won't forget this," he said. "I don't expect you to. I mean it." "I know." He turned, walked down the steps. The others were already waiting by their bikes, brushing off snow. Evelyn stood in the doorway and watched them leave. The engines roared to life, one by one, and then they were gone. The street was empty again. The house was silent. She closed the door, locked it, and stood there for a long moment, hands still on the knob. Then she went back to the kitchen, back to her life, alone. But something had shifted. She didn't know what, not yet, but she felt it. 3 weeks later, Evelyn was washing dishes when she heard the sound. A car engine, expensive, smooth. She dried her hands and looked out the window. A black SUV was pulling up in front of her house. Her heart skipped. No one in Silver Creek drove cars like that. The door opened. A man stepped out. Tailored coat, polished shoes, clean shaven. She didn't recognize him. Not at first. He walked up the path, up the steps, and knocked 3 times. She opened the door and froze because she knew those eyes. "Hello, Mrs. Harper," Caleb Rhodes said quietly, her breath caught. You came back. I told you I wouldn't forget." She looked past him, at the SUV, at the driver waiting inside, at the way he stood different now, confident, powerful. "Who are you?" she whispered. He smiled, sad, honest, someone who owes you everything. And that's when her life changed forever. Evelyn's hand tightened on the doorframe. "I don't understand." Caleb reached into his coat. She tensed, old instincts, but he pulled out a business card, heavy, embossed. He held it out to her. She took it with shaking fingers. Titan Ridge Holdings, Caleb Rhodes, CEO. The words blurred. She read them again, then looked up at him. "This is a joke." "It's not." You said you were." "I know what I said." His voice was calm, patient. "I didn't lie, I just didn't tell you everything." She stepped back. "Why?" "Because that night I wasn't a CEO. I was just a man freezing to death who needed help." He paused. "And you gave it to me anyway." Her mind raced. CEO, Titan Ridge Holdings. She'd heard that name before, seen it in the newspaper. Infrastructure, billions of dollars, one of the largest companies in the state. "This doesn't make sense," she whispered. "Can I come in?" She almost said no, almost closed the door, but something in his eyes stopped her. The same thing she'd seen that night. Exhaustion, honesty, need. She stepped aside. He walked in, looked around. Nothing had changed. The same cracked ceiling, the same patched curtains, the same cold air seeping through the tape windows. His jaw clenched. "You're still living like this?" "I told you, I manage." "You shouldn't have to manage." He turned to face her. "Mrs. Harper, I came back because I made myself a promise. That night in this house, you gave me something I haven't had in 20 years. What? Hope that people can still be decent." Her throat tightened. "I didn't do anything special. You gave us your last food, your husband's blankets. You stitched up Danny with your own hands and didn't ask for a damn thing in return." His voice cracked. "Do you know how rare that is?" She didn't answer. "I've spent 15 years building an empire," he continued. "I've made deals worth hundreds of millions. I've bought companies, sold them, built things that'll last 100 years. And in all that time, not one person has ever helped me without wanting something back. Not one." He stepped closer. "Until you." "Caleb, let me help you." "No, please." "I said no." Her voice was firm. "I didn't help you so you'd feel obligated. I helped you because it was right. And if you try to pay me now, you'll ruin it." He stared at her, frustration and respect warring on his face. "You're the most stubborn woman I've ever met. I've been told." He ran a hand through his hair, paced, stopped. "What if it's not about paying you back? Then what's it about?" "Doing what's right." He gestured around the room. "You're living in a house that's falling apart. You don't have heat. You don't have food. You're barely surviving, and you did that to yourself because you helped us. That's on me." "It's not." "It is." His voice rose, then softened. "Mrs. Harper, I'm not here to buy your kindness. I'm here because I can't sleep at night, knowing you're suffering while I'm living in a penthouse." She looked at him for a long moment, really looked, saw the guilt, the shame, the desperate need to fix something he thought he'd broken. "What do you want to do, Key?" she asked quietly. "Fix your house, that's all. Let me send someone to repair the roof, the heating, the windows. You keep everything else, your life, your independence. I just want you to be warm." She crossed her arms. "And if I say no, then I'll respect that. But I'll keep coming back, every week, every month, until you change your mind." A smile tugged at her lips. "You're stubborn too. I learned from the best." She sighed. looked around her house, at the ceiling she'd patched with duct tape, at the windows she'd covered with plastic, at the ancient heater that barely worked. She was tired, so tired. Just the repairs, she said finally. His face lit up. Just the repairs. And nothing else. Nothing else. I mean it, Caleb. I know. He pulled out his phone, made a call. Marcus, I need a crew in Silver Creek. Full renovation. Roof heating, windows, electrical. Everything. He paused. Tomorrow, numb, today. I don't care what it costs. He hung up. Evelyn's eyes widened. Today. I don't do things halfway. Caleb, trust me. And God help her, she did. Within 3 hours, trucks arrived. Men in work boots and hard hats. Tools, materials, lumber, shingles, a new furnace. The neighbors came out to watch, whispered, pointed. Mrs. Chen from across the street walked over. Evelyn, what's happening? I'm getting some repairs done. Who's paying for this? A friend. Mrs. Chen looked at Caleb standing on the porch in his expensive coat. Some friend. Evelyn didn't elaborate. The work began immediately. Caleb stayed, supervised, barked orders, made phone calls. Evelyn watched from the kitchen window, dazed. Around noon, he knocked on the door. You eaten today? She hesitated. I'm fine. That's not what I asked. She looked away. He sighed, pulled out his phone again. 10 minutes later, a deliverer arrived. Chinese food, enough for 10 people. I can't eat all this, she protested. Then share it with the crew. Or the neighbors. I don't care. But you're eating something. He handed her a container. Opened it. The smell hit her. Her stomach growled. She hadn't realized how hungry she was. They sat at her small kitchen table. Ate in silence. Outside, hammers pounded. Saws buzzed. Men shouted instructions. Why'd you really come back? She asked. He set down his fork. Because that night changed me. How? I've spent my whole life fighting, clawing my way up from nothing. I built my company from scratch. Worked 18-hour days, sacrificed everything. And somewhere along the way, I forgot why I started. He looked at her. You reminded me. I didn't do anything. You did everything. His voice was thick. You showed me what it looks like to give without counting the cost, to help without expecting anything back. I've been searching for that my whole life and didn't even know it. Tears pricked her eyes. You're giving me too much credit. I'm not giving you enough. They finished eating. The crew worked until dark. By the time they left, the roof was half done. The new furnace installed. The windows measured and ordered. Caleb stood on the porch watching the last truck pull away. They'll be back tomorrow, he said. Should be finished in 3 days. Evelyn joined him. The cold air didn't bite as hard. The new furnace hummed inside. Thank you, she said quietly. Don't thank me yet. Wait until it's done. I mean it. He looked at her. So do I. He left. The black SUV disappeared down the street. Evelyn went inside. The house already felt different. Warmer. Lighter. She sat on the couch and cried. Not from sadness. From relief. The next morning the crew returned. Bigger this time. More men. More materials. And Caleb. He showed up at 7 a.m. with coffee and bagels. You didn't have to come back, Evelyn said. I wanted to. He stayed all day. Every day. For 3 days straight, overseeing, adjusting, demanding perfection. On the third day, Danny showed up. Evelyn opened the door and gasped. What are you doing here? He grinned, held up his arm. The bandages were gone. A clean scar remained. Wanted to show you. Healed perfect. She touched his arm gently, ran her fingers over the scar. You took care of it. You told me to. Garrett arrived an hour later. Then the quiet one, his name was Eli. Then the stocky one, Marcus. All of them. They stood in her living room looking around at the work in progress. Place looks good, Garrett said. Caleb's doing, Evelyn replied. Caleb's repaying a debt, Caleb corrected from the doorway. Danny walked over to him. We all are. That's when Evelyn understood. They hadn't just come back to see her. They'd come back to help. For the next 2 days, the 5 of them worked alongside the crew. Danny carried materials. Garrett installed windows. Eli painted. Marcus fixed the porch steps Evelyn had been avoiding for months. And Caleb coordinated everything. The neighbors watched, whispered, Some approached. Mrs. Chen brought lemonade. Mr. Dawson from 2 doors down offered tools. The young couple at the corner asked if they needed extra hands. What's happening here? Mrs. Chen asked Evelyn. Evelyn smiled. People helping people. But why? Because someone decided it was worth it. By the end of the week, the house was transformed. New roof, new windows, new heating system that actually worked. Fresh paint, repaired porch. Even the old fence out back had been rebuilt. Evelyn stood in her living room and didn't recognize it. Everything was the same, but everything was different. What do you think? Caleb asked. She couldn't speak, just nodded, tears streaming down her face. He handed her a tissue. It's not charity, it's gratitude. It's too much. It's not enough. That night after the crew left, the 5 men stayed for dinner. Evelyn cooked. Real food this time. Chicken, potatoes, vegetables. A meal she hadn't been able to afford in months, but could now because Caleb had quietly restocked her entire pantry. They sat around her table, talked, laughed. Danny told stories about his daughter. Garrett complained about his ex-wife. Eli barely spoke but smiled more. Marcus cracked jokes, and Caleb watched Evelyn the entire time. What? She asked finally. You're happy. I am. Good. He set down his fork. Because I need to ask you something. The room went quiet. What is it? Evelyn asked. I want to do more. Her smile faded. Caleb. Not for you, for them. He gestured toward the window, toward the street, the town. Silver Creek is dying. You know it. I know it. Half these houses are falling apart. People are leaving. There's no work, no hope. He leaned forward. But there could be. What are you saying? I'm saying let me invest, not in you, in this place, in the people who are still here, still fighting. Evelyn stared at him. Why? Because you proved something to me. That one person can make a difference. That kindness isn't weakness. That if you give people a chance, they'll surprise you. His voice grew stronger. I've got the money, the resources, the connections, but I need someone who knows this town. Someone people trust. Someone who gives a damn. You want me to help you? I want you to lead. She laughed, shocked. I'm a 72-year-old widow. What do I know about leading everything? He didn't smile, didn't blink. You led me. You led 5 strangers who had every reason to be dangerous and turned us into something better. If you can do that, you can do anything. Caleb, I don't. Please, his voice cracked. I need this. I need to prove that money can do more than make more money. That it can actually help, but I can't do it alone. I need you. The room held its breath. Evelyn looked at Danny, at Garrett, at Eli, at Marcus. They were all watching her, waiting. What exactly are you proposing? She asked slowly. Caleb pulled out a folder, opened it. Pages of plans, blueprints, budgets. A community kitchen, run by you, open to anyone who needs a meal, no questions asked. He flipped a page. Repairs for every house on this street, free, paid for by Titan Ridge. Another page. A new playground, lights, sidewalks. He looked up. And scholarships, for kids who want to go to college but can't afford it. In your name, and your husband's. She couldn't breathe. Why are you doing this? She whispered. Because you showed me what I've been missing. Purpose, he closed the folder. I don't want to just make money anymore, Mrs. Harper. I want to make a difference, and I can't think of a better place to start than here. With you. She looked around the table, at the men who'd walked into her life as strangers and become something else. Something more. If I say yes, she said carefully, I do this my way. No corporate nonsense, no strings, no press conferences. We help people because they need help, not because it looks good. Agreed. And if I think you're doing something wrong, I'll tell you. I'm counting on it. And I get final say on who we help and how. Done. She took a deep breath, let it out slowly. Then yes. The table erupted. Danny whooped. Garrett clapped. Eli smiled wide. Marcus laughed. Caleb just nodded, relief flooding his face. Thank you, he said quietly. Don't thank me yet, Evelyn replied. You have no idea what you just signed up for. I think I do, she smiled. We'll see. Over the next month, Silver Creek began to change. The community kitchen opened in an old building Caleb bought and renovated. Evelyn ran it, cooked meals, organized volunteers, fed anyone who walked through the door. Mrs. Chen helped. Mr. Dawson donated vegetables from his garden. The young couple worked weekends. Word spread. People came, hungry, hopeful, grateful. Evelyn stood behind the counter ladling soup, handing out bread, and felt something she hadn't felt in years. Purpose. The repairs started, house by house, street by street, roofs fixed, windows replaced, heating systems installed. No one was asked to pay. No one was turned away. At first, people were suspicious, wondered what the catch was. But there wasn't one, and slowly they began to believe. The playground went up in 3 weeks. New swings, slides, a merry-go-round, lights strung overhead so kids could play after dark. The first night it opened, Evelyn stood at the edge and watched, children laughing, parents smiling, life returning to a place that had felt dead. Caleb stood beside her. You did this. We did this. No, you inspired it. I just funded it. She looked at him. Do you regret it? Regret what? Knocking on my door that night. He smiled. Sad, honest. It's the best thing I've ever done. 3 months later, the scholarships were announced. The Harper Family Scholarship Fund, 5 students, full ride, college of their choice. The ceremony was small, held in the community kitchen. Evelyn sat at the front, uncomfortable in a dress Mrs. Chen had insisted she wear. The students came up one by one, shook her hand, thanked her. One girl cried, "You're changing my life." Evelyn held her hand. You're changing your own life. I'm just helping. Afterward, Caleb pulled her aside. There's something I need to tell you. Her heart sank. What's wrong? Nothing's wrong, but I'm leaving. Leaving. Not permanently. I've got a project in Denver. 6 months, maybe a year. He paused. But I'm leaving Danny in charge here. He'll oversee everything. Make sure it keeps running. Danny, he's good, trustworthy, and he cares about this place almost as much as you do. She nodded slowly. Okay. You're not upset. I'm sad, but I understand. He hugged her tight. I'll be back, I promise. I know. He left the next week. The work continued. Danny stepped up, organized crews, met with Evelyn weekly, kept everything on track. Garrett helped. So did Eli. So did Marcus. The 5 men who'd stumbled into her life that frozen night had become the backbone of something bigger. And Evelyn became the heart. 1 year after that night, another storm hit. Not as bad as the first, but cold, bitter. Evelyn stood in the community kitchen preparing for the rush she knew was coming. Around 8 p.m. there was a knock. She opened the door. A young woman stood there, shivering, holding a little girl. Please, the woman whispered. We're so cold. Evelyn stepped aside, smiled gently. Come in, she said, before you freeze. The woman started crying. Evelyn led them to a table, brought soup, blankets, held the little girl while the mother ate. What's your name? Evelyn asked. Sarah. I'm Evelyn, and you're safe here. Sarah looked around, at the warm kitchen, at the other people eating, at the volunteers moving quietly, helping without judgment. Is this real? She whispered. Evelyn smiled. It's real, and it's yours for as long as you need it. Sarah broke down. Evelyn held her. Let her cry, and as she did, she thought about that night, the knock on her door, the choice she'd made, the life that had unfolded because of it. She'd lost so much, but she'd gained even more. And she wouldn't change a single thing. Sarah stayed for 3 days. On the 4th morning, she approached Evelyn in the kitchen. I need to leave. Evelyn looked up from the pot she was stirring. You don't have to. I know, but I can't keep taking from you. You're not taking, you're receiving. There's a difference. Which the idea? Sarah's eyes filled. Why are you doing this? Evelyn set down her spoon, wiped her hands on her apron. Because someone did it for me once, and it saved my life. Who? 5 strangers who taught me that kindness isn't weakness, it's strength. She touched Sarah's hand. Stay as long as you need. And when you're ready to leave, leave, knowing you always have a place to come back to. Sarah nodded, couldn't speak. That afternoon, Danny stopped by. He looked tired, stressed. What's wrong? Evelyn asked. We've got a problem. Her stomach dropped. What kind of problem? The city council, they're pushing back on the housing repairs, saying we need permits, inspections. They're threatening to shut us down. On what grounds? They're saying it's unfair competition, that local contractors are losing business because we're doing the work for free. Evelyn's hands curled into fists. That's ridiculous. I know, but they've got the law on their side. He ran a hand through his hair. Caleb's in Denver. I've been calling him, but he's in meetings all day. I don't know what to do. Who's leading this? Councilman Peters. He owns half the rental properties in town. He's been bleeding tenants since we started fixing up houses. People are buying instead of renting. Evelyn grabbed her coat. Take me to him. Mrs. Harper. Now Danny. They drove it to the council office. Peters was there. Mid-50s, slicked back hair. Expensive suit that didn't fit the dying town around him. He smiled when he saw Evelyn. Condescending, dismissive. Mrs. Harper, what a surprise. We need to talk. I'm very busy. Make time. His smile faded. He gestured to his office. They went inside. Danny stayed in the doorway. Peter sat behind his desk, leaned back. What can I do for you? You can stop blocking our work. I'm not blocking anything. I'm ensuring proper procedure. You're protecting your wallet. His face hardened. Careful, Mrs. Harper. Or what? You'll shut down a community kitchen that feeds hungry people. You'll stop us from helping families who can't afford heat. She leaned forward. Go ahead. Try. See how that plays in the next election. You think you can threaten me? I'm not threatening. I'm promising. You come after what we're building, and I'll make sure every person in this town knows exactly why. That you value profit over people. That you'd rather let families freeze than lose rental income. Peter stood. Get out of my office. Gladly. She turned to leave, stopped. One more thing, we're not stopping. You can throw up every roadblock you want. We'll find a way in around them. Because what we're doing matters. And you, She looked him up and down. You're just noise. She walked out. Danny caught up with her in the parking lot. That was incredible. That was stupid. I just made an enemy. You also made a statement. Statements don't win fights. Strategy does. She pulled out her phone. Call Caleb. I don't care if he's in a meeting. Get him on the phone. Caleb answered on the third ring. Evelyn, we've got trouble. She explained everything. Peters, the permits, the threats. Caleb was quiet for a long moment. Then I'll handle it, Aristoma. How? You let me worry about that. Just keep doing what you're doing. Caleb, trust me. She hung up. Looked at Danny. He says he'll handle it. How? I have no idea. 2 days later, Peters received a call from the state attorney general's office. They wanted to discuss his rental properties, specifically the numerous building code violations that had been reported, anonymously. Peters went pale. The investigation started immediately. Inspectors showed up, found mold, faulty wiring, broken heating systems, dozens of violations. Tenants were relocated, properties condemned. Peters tried to fight it, hired lawyers, threatened lawsuits. But the evidence was overwhelming. Within a month, he was facing fines in the hundreds of thousands, his properties seized, his reputation destroyed. The council quietly dropped all objections to Evelyn's work. When Evelyn found out, she called Caleb. What did you do? I made a few calls, asked the right questions. Turned out Peters had been cutting corners for years. Someone just needed to look. You orchestrated this. I protected what we're building. There's a difference. She should have been angry, should have felt manipulated, but all she felt was relief. Thank you, she said quietly. Always. The work accelerated, more houses repaired, more families fed, more kids on the playground. But something else was happening too. People were starting to help each other. Mr. Dawson taught woodworking classes. Mrs. Chen started a community garden. The young couple organized clothing drives. Silver Creek wasn't just surviving anymore. It was healing. One evening, Evelyn was closing up the kitchen when Garrett walked in. Got a minute? He asked. Always. What's up? He sat at one of the tables, looked uncomfortable. I need advice. Evelyn sat across from him. About what? My daughter. She blinked. I didn't know you had a daughter. I don't. Not really. Haven't seen her in 8 years. He stared at his hands. Her mother took her when she was 5, said I was too dangerous, too unstable. And she was right. What changed? You did. He looked up, watching you with these people. The way you care, the way you give, it made me realize what I've been missing, what I threw away. His voice cracked. I want to see her. I want to try to be her father again, but I don't know how. Evelyn reached across the table, took his hand. You start by showing up. You be honest. You tell her you were wrong and you want to do better. And then you prove it, every single day. What if she doesn't forgive me? Then you keep showing up anyway, because that's what fathers do. Garrett's eyes were wet. I'm scared. Good, that means you care. She squeezed his hand. You're not the same man you were 8 years ago. You're better. Let her see that. He nodded, wiped his eyes. Thank you. Anytime. 2 weeks later, Garrett drove to Helena, found his ex-wife's house, knocked. She opened the door. Her face went white. What are you doing here? I want to see Emily. Absolutely not. Please, just 5 minutes. If she doesn't want to see me, I'll leave. I promise. His ex-wife stared at him, looked for the anger, the volatility, didn't find it. Wait here, Bisayan. She closed the door. He stood on the porch, heart pounding. The door opened again. A girl stood there, 13 years old, long brown hair, her mother's eyes. Emily. Hi, Garrett said, his voice shook. She didn't say anything, just looked at him. I know I don't deserve to be here. I know I've been gone, but I want to change that, if you'll let me. Emily crossed her arms. Why now? Because I finally figured out what's important, and it's not the life I was living. It's you. You left me. I did, and I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Mom said you were dangerous. I was, but I'm not anymore. I'm trying to be better. I'm trying to be someone you'd be proud of. She studied him hard, searching for the lie. What do you do now? She asked. I help people, fix their houses, build playgrounds, feed families who don't have enough. Really, really. Something shifted in her face, not forgiveness, not yet, but curiosity. Can I think about it? She asked. Take all the time you need. I'm not going anywhere. She nodded, went back inside, the door closed. Garrett stood there shaking. It wasn't a yes, but it wasn't a no, and that was enough. Back in Silver Creek, Eli finally spoke to Evelyn about what had been weighing on him. It was late. The kitchen was empty. Just the two of them cleaning up. I need to tell you something, he said quietly. Evelyn looked up. What is it? That night, when we showed up at your door, we weren't just lost in a storm. Her hands stilled. What do you mean? We were running from people we owed money to, dangerous people. We'd made a deal that went bad, and they wanted payback. He set down the dish he was holding. We were desperate, scared, and when we saw your house, we thought about robbing you. The words hung in the air. Evelyn's heart pounded. But you didn't. No, because you opened the door and you looked at us like we were human. Not threats, not marks, just people who needed help. His voice broke. And I couldn't do it. None of us could. Eli, I've been carrying that guilt for over a year, that we even considered it, that we came into your home with that in our minds. She walked over to him, put her hand on his shoulder. But you didn't do it. That's what matters. How can you forgive that? Because you're not the man who thought about robbing me. You're the man who chose not to. You're the man who stayed, who helped, who became my friend. She smiled gently. We all have darkness in our past. What defines us is what we do with it. He turned to her, tears streaming down his face. I don't deserve you. None of us deserve each other. We're just lucky we found each other anyway. He hugged her, tight, desperate. She held him until he stopped shaking. The next morning, Marcus showed up with news. Caleb's coming back. Evelyn's heart leapt. When tomorrow, and he's bringing someone with him. Who? Didn't say, but he sounded excited. Caleb arrived the next afternoon. The black SUV pulled up in front of the community kitchen. He stepped out, and then a woman emerged from the passenger side. Older, elegant, gray hair pulled back, kind eyes. Evelyn, Caleb said, this is my mother, Catherine Rhodes. Evelyn's breath caught. Your mother? Catherine walked forward, extended her hand. I've heard so much about you. They shook. Catherine's grip was firm, warm. Caleb's told me everything you've done here. I had to see it for myself. I didn't do anything. Your son did. My son provided money. You provided the heart. Catherine looked around, at the kitchen, at the people eating, at the warmth and life. This is extraordinary. It's just people helping people. No, it's vision, leadership, love. Catherine turned back to her. Caleb told me about the night you met, how you saved his life. I just let him inside. You did more than that. You reminded him why he started building companies in the first place. To make a difference, not just to make money. Her eyes shimmered. As his mother, I can't thank you enough for that. Evelyn didn't know what to say. Catherine smiled. I'd like to help, if you'll let me. Help how? I have connections, influence, resources. I can bring in donors, set up foundations, make this bigger than Silver Creek. Evelyn's mind raced. I don't want this to become some corporate thing. It won't, I promise. This is your vision. I just want to amplify it. Evelyn looked at Caleb. He nodded. Okay, she said slowly, but my rules. Catherine's smile widened. I wouldn't have it any other way. Over the next 6 months, everything exploded. Catherine brought in donors, philanthropists, business leaders, people with money and power who wanted to invest in what Silver Creek was building. The community kitchen expanded. A second location opened, then a third. The housing repairs spread to neighboring towns, crews working in 5 different counties. The scholarship fund grew from 5 students to 20, then 50, and Evelyn was at the center of all of it, speaking at fundraisers, meeting with donors, telling her story. She hated every minute of it. I'm not a public speaker, she told Caleb one night. You're a truth teller. That's better. I just want to help people, not stand in front of crowds. Then help people by inspiring others to help too. That's what you do when you speak. She sighed, knew he was right, hated that he was right, but she kept doing it because it worked. 1 year later, during a fundraising gala in Helena, Evelyn stood on stage in front of 300 people. She wore a simple black dress. Catherine had helped her pick it out. She still felt uncomfortable, but when she spoke, her voice was steady. 2 years ago, I was alone, broke, barely surviving. I'd lost my husband, my savings, my hope, and then 5 strangers knocked on my door in the middle of a blizzard. The room was silent. I could have turned them away. I should have. Every logical part of my brain screamed at me to, but I didn't, because I remembered what it felt like to need help and not get it, and I couldn't do that to someone else. She paused, let the words sink in. Those 5 men changed my life, not because they gave me money, but because they gave me purpose. They showed me that one act of kindness can ripple out in ways you can't imagine, that helping someone isn't just about them. It's about what it does to you. She looked out at the crowd, at the wealthy donors in their expensive clothes. You all have money, power, influence, and you're here because you want to make a difference. But I'm here to tell you that it's not about how much you give. It's about why. If you're doing this to feel good about yourselves, it won't last. But if you're doing this because you genuinely care about people, because you see their humanity and their worth, then what we're building will change the world. The applause started slowly, then built. Standing ovation. Evelyn stepped off the stage shaking. Caleb met her at the bottom. You were perfect. I was terrified. Didn't show. Catherine appeared, beaming. That was the most powerful speech I've ever heard. I just told the truth. Exactly. That night, the gala raised $2 million, all of it going to the Harper Initiative, the official name Catherine had given to their growing network of kitchens housing programs and scholarships. Evelyn had fought the name. It should be the Rhodes Initiative or the Silver Creek Initiative, not my name. It's your vision, Caleb had insisted. Your name goes on it. Now watching the total climb on the display screen, she felt overwhelmed. $2 million, because she'd opened her door. The next morning, Evelyn woke up to her phone ringing. Danny, turn on the news. What Wi-Fi? Just do it. She fumbled for the remote, turned on the TV. A news anchor was speaking. Behind her, a photo of Evelyn. The Harper Initiative has been nominated for the Presidential Citizens Medal, one of the highest civilian honors in the country. Evelyn Harper, a 74-year-old widow from Silver Creek, Montana, has transformed her community through acts of extraordinary kindness. Evelyn's phone slipped from her hand. The news continued, showed footage of the community kitchen, interviews with people she'd helped. Sarah, the young mother, saying through tears, "She saved my life." Danny's voice came through the phone on the floor. "Mrs. Harper, you still there?" She picked it up. "This can't be real." "It's real. The White House called this morning. You're being honored in 3 months." She sat down hard. "I don't want this." "Too bad. You earned it." "Danny, Mrs. Harper, stop fighting. Let people celebrate what you've done. You deserve it." She hung up, sat in silence. The phone rang again. "Caleb, did you know about this?" she demanded. Catherine might have submitted the nomination. "Caleb, you're going to the White House, Evelyn. Accept it." "I can't." "You can and you will, because every person you have helped will be watching, and they need to see that kindness matters, that good people get recognized." His voice softened. "Please do this." She closed her eyes. "Fine, but I'm not wearing anything fancy." He laughed. "We'll see about that." 3 months later, Evelyn stood in the East Room of the White House. She wore a navy blue dress. Catherine had won that battle. The president approached, shook her hand, smiled warmly. "Mrs. Harper, it's an honor." "Most President, what you've built in Silver Creek is remarkable. You've reminded us all what it means to serve others." The medal was placed around her neck. Heavy, significant. She looked out at the crowd. Caleb was there. Catherine, Ihomer, Danny, Garrett with Emily beside him they'd reconciled 3 months ago. Eli, Marcus, Sarah with her daughter, Mrs. Chen, Mr. Dawson, the young couple, everyone who'd become her family. And she realized something. This wasn't about her. It never had been. It was about them, about what happens when one person decides to care, about how kindness compounds, and about how opening a door can change everything. The ceremony ended, photos were taken, hands were shaken, and then they all went home, back to Silver Creek, back to the work, because the medal was nice, but the work was what mattered. The morning after they returned from Washington, Evelyn woke up to silence. Not the comfortable silence she'd grown used to. The wrong kind. The empty kind. She walked into the kitchen, made coffee, sat at her table and stared at the medal sitting on the counter. The Presidential Citizens Medal. It felt like a lie. Because she didn't feel like a hero. She felt tired, stretched thin, like she was playing a role that didn't quite fit. Her phone buzzed. A text from Catherine. "Breakfast, we need to talk." Evelyn's stomach tightened. Catherine never said "we need to talk" unless something was wrong. They met at a diner on the edge of town. Catherine was already there, coffee in hand, looking more serious than Evelyn had ever seen her. "What's going on?" Evelyn asked as she slid into the booth. Catherine didn't waste time. "The Harper Initiative is getting national attention. After the medal donations have tripled, we've got requests from 12 different states asking us to expand." "That's good, isn't it?" "It is, but it's also complicated." Catherine leaned forward. "Evelyn, this is getting too big for you to manage alone. We need infrastructure, a board of directors, professional staff, real organization." Evelyn's chest tightened. "You're saying I can't handle it. I'm saying no one person could handle this, not even you." Catherine's voice was gentle but firm. "You started something extraordinary, but if we want it to last, if we want it to grow, we need to professionalize." "I don't want it professionalized. I want it to stay what it is, personal, real. It can be both, but not if you burn yourself out trying to do everything." Evelyn looked away, out the window, at the town that had become her purpose. "I don't know how to let go," she admitted quietly. "I'm not asking you to let go. I'm asking you to let others help carry the weight." What if they change it? What if it becomes just another charity that cares more about numbers than people? Catherine reached across the table, took her hand. "That's why you stay involved, why you set the tone, why you remind everyone what this is really about." She squeezed. "But you can't pour from an empty cup, Evelyn, and yours is running dry, boss." Evelyn knew she was right, had known it for months, but admitting it felt like failure. What do you suggest, she asked. Hire an executive director, someone who handles the day-to-day operations. You remain the founder, the face, the heart, but you delegate the logistics. I don't even know where to start looking for someone like that. Catherine smiled. I do, and I think you'll like her. 2 days later, Evelyn met Rebecca Walsh, late 30s, sharp, professional, but with kind eyes that reminded Evelyn of her daughter-in-law gone now for 15 years. They sat in the community kitchen after hours, just the three of them, Evelyn, Catherine, and Rebecca. Tell me why you want this job, Evelyn said. Rebecca didn't hesitate. Because what you've built here is what I've been searching for my whole career. I've worked for nonprofits that cared more about donors than impact, corporations that valued profit over people. And I'm done with that. She looked directly at Evelyn. You've proven that you can do good work without compromising. I want to protect that, expand it, but never lose what makes it special. How do I know you won't change it? You don't, not for certain, but I can promise you this, every major decision goes through you. Every program launch, every partnership. You have veto power over everything. I'm here to execute your vision, not replace it. Evelyn studied her, searched for the corporate polish, the hidden agenda, found nothing but honesty. When can you start? Evelyn asked. Rebecca smiled. Tomorrow. The transition wasn't easy. Rebecca came in with systems, spreadsheets, organizational charts, things that made Evelyn's head spin. We need to track outcomes, Rebecca explained one afternoon. How many meals served, how many houses repaired, how many scholarships awarded. Donors want data. I don't care what donors want. I care about people. I know, but if we can show donors the impact, we get more money, which means we help more people. That's the game. Evelyn hated the game, but she understood it. So she let Rebecca build the infrastructure, hire staff, create processes, and slowly the weight on Evelyn's shoulders began to lift. She could focus on what she did best, talking to people, hearing their stories, being present. 3 months into Rebecca's tenure, Danny pulled Evelyn aside. We've got a situation. Her heart sank. What kind, Mom? One of the scholarship recipients, kid named Marcus Rivera, 16, smart as hell, got accepted to MIT on a full ride through our program. That's wonderful. It was, until his father found out. What do you mean? Danny's jaw tightened. His father's an alcoholic, abusive. The scholarship money we give the families a small living stipend to help with expenses. Marcus's dad took it, spent it on booze. Now he's threatening Marcus, saying if the kid leaves for college, he'll never see his mother or sisters again. Evelyn's blood went cold. Where is Marcus now? Hiding at a friend's house. But he's terrified, won't call the police because he's afraid his dad will hurt his mom. We need to get him out of there. I know, but legally. I don't care about legally. Evelyn grabbed her coat. Take me to him. They found Marcus at a small house on the east side of town. He was sitting on the porch steps, head in his hands. When he saw Evelyn, he stood, shame written all over his face. I'm sorry, Mrs. Harper. I know this is a mess. She walked up to him, put her hands on his shoulders. You have nothing to apologize for. Your father's choices are not your responsibility. But the money was bomb. We'll figure out the money. Right now I need to know, do you want to go to MIT? His eyes filled. More than anything. Then you're going, and your father doesn't get to stop you. But my mom. We'll protect your mom too. I promise you. How? She pulled out her phone, called Caleb. He answered immediately. Evelyn, I need a lawyer, a good one, and I need housing for a woman and 2 girls, immediately. What's going on? She explained, quickly. Caleb listened without interrupting. Give me 2 hours, he said. Caleb, 2 hours. I've got this. He hung up. Evelyn looked at Marcus. Pack a bag. You're staying with me tonight. Mrs. Harper, I can't. You can, and you will. 90 minutes later, a lawyer arrived, a woman named Diane Chen, no relation to Mrs. Chen, but just as fierce. She sat with Marcus, took notes, asked hard questions. We can get a restraining order, she said, but it's not a guarantee of safety. Your mother needs to press charges. She won't, Marcus said. She's too scared. Then we need to give her a safe place to land, somewhere he can't find her. Caleb had already arranged it. A rental house 3 towns over, paid for 6 months up front, security system installed. Diane drove to Marcus's house, alone, knocked on the door. Marcus's mother answered, bruises on her arms. Mrs. Rivera, my name is Diane Chen. I'm an attorney. Your son sent me. Fear flashed across the woman's face. I can't talk to you, Pascal. You can and you should because right now you have options, but only if you act fast. Behind her, a man's voice shouted, Who the hell is that? Marcus's father appeared, drunk, angry. Diane didn't flinch. Mr. Rivera, I'm here to inform you that a restraining order has been filed against you on behalf of your son, Marcus. You are to have no contact with him, effective immediately. That little shit doesn't get to. If you violate this order, you'll be arrested, and I will personally ensure you face the maximum penalty. She turned back to Mrs. Rivera. Ma'am, I have a car waiting, a safe place for you and your daughters. You can leave right now. No one will hurt you. Mrs. Rivera looked at her husband, then at Diane. Where's Marcus? She whispered. Safe, waiting for you. If I leave, he'll come after me. Not if you press charges. Not if you let us protect you. Mr. Rivera lunged forward. Diane stepped back. 2 police officers appeared from the side of the house. Caleb had called them too. Sir, step back, one officer said. Mr. Rivera froze, rage on his face, but he stepped back. Mrs. Rivera grabbed her daughters, didn't pack, didn't hesitate, just ran. Diane drove them to the safe house. Marcus was waiting. When his mother saw him, she broke down, held him tight. I'm so sorry, she sobbed. I'm so sorry I let him hurt you. You didn't let him, Mom. He made his choices. I should have protected you. You're protecting me now. That's what matters. 2 weeks later, Marcus left for Montgomery T. Evelyn drove him to the airport, just the 2 of them. I don't know how to thank you, he said as they waited at the gate. You don't need to thank me. You need to succeed. You need to become everything you're meant to be, and then someday you help someone else the way I helped you. I will, I promise. She hugged him. I know you will. He boarded the plane. She watched it take off and felt something shift inside her. This was why she did it, not for medals or recognition, for moments like this, for lives changed. But the toll was adding up. That night, Evelyn collapsed. She was home alone, cleaning up after dinner, and suddenly her chest tightened, her vision blurred. She grabbed the counter, tried to breathe, couldn't. She managed to dial 911 before everything went black. She woke up in a hospital bed. Caleb was sitting beside her, face pale, eyes red. What happened? She asked, her voice weak. You had a heart attack. The words didn't register at first. Then they did. A heart attack. A mild one, but real. He leaned forward. Evelyn, you can't keep doing this. You're 74 years old. You've been running on fumes for 2 years. Your body is telling you to stop. I can't stop. There's too much to do. There's always too much to do. But if you die trying to do it, then what? Who does it help him? She looked away. I don't know how to slow down. Then learn. His voice broke. Please, I can't lose you. She looked at him, really looked, saw the fear, the love. Okay, she whispered. Okay. I'll slow down. I'll delegate more. I'll take care of myself. He grabbed her hand, held tight. Promise me. I promise. And now he stayed in the hospital for 3 days. Rebecca visited, brought flowers, and a plan. I'm taking over all public appearances for the next 3 months. You're going to rest. Doctor's orders. Rebecca. Non-negotiable. Catherine agrees. Caleb agrees. Even Danny agrees. You're outvoted. Evelyn wanted to argue, but she was too tired. Fine, Rebecca smiled. Good. Now focus on getting better. We've got everything covered. And they did. Rebecca handled the donors. Danny managed the field operations. Garrett coordinated the construction crews. Eli ran the community kitchens. The Harper initiative kept running. Without Evelyn at the center, it should have made her happy. Instead, it terrified her, because if they didn't need her, then who was she? Catherine came to visit on the 4th day. Found Evelyn crying. What's wrong? She asked gently. I don't know who I am without this work. Catherine sat on the edge of the bed. You're Evelyn Harper, the woman who opened her door in a blizzard. The woman who chose kindness over fear. The woman who started a movement. She paused. The work is what you do, but it's not who you are. Then who am I? You're the woman who taught my son to care again, who gave Garrett the courage to reconnect with his daughter, who saved Marcus's life, who showed an entire town that people matter more than profit. Catherine's eyes were wet. You're the woman who changed everything. And that doesn't go away just because you take a break. Evelyn wiped her eyes. I'm scared. Of what? That if I stop, I'll disappear. That all of this will forget me and move on. Then you don't understand what you've built. Catherine took her hand. Evelyn, you didn't create followers. You created leaders. Every person you've touched is now doing the work, spreading the kindness, paying it forward. That's not something that disappears. That's a legacy. The words settled over her. Heavy. True. I need to let go, Evelyn said quietly. Not let go, let grow. Evelyn came home 2 weeks later. The house felt different, quieter, but not empty, because Danny had organized something. When she walked in, 50 people were waiting. Everyone she'd helped, everyone who'd become family. Sarah and her daughter, Mrs. Chen, Mr. Dawson, the scholarship kids who were home for break, Garrett with Emily, Eli. Marcus had sent a video message from MIT, and at the front, Caleb and Catherine. What is this? Evelyn asked. Caleb smiled. Your intervention. My what? We all got together and decided something. You've spent 2 years taking care of everyone else. Now it's our turn to take care of you. Sarah stepped forward. I'm cooking for you twice a week. No arguments. Mrs. Chen raised her hand. I'm handling your garden. You focus on resting. Mr. Dawson chimed in. Any repairs you need, I'm on it. One by one, they all volunteered, all committed to taking care of her the way she'd taken care of them. Evelyn's throat closed up. You don't have to do this. Yes, we do, Danny said, because that's what you taught us, that we take care of each other, and you're one of us. She couldn't hold it together anymore. Just cried, happy tears this time. The next few months were the strangest of Evelyn's life. She rested, actually rested. Took walks, read books, spent time in her garden, let other people do the work, and the Harper Initiative thrived. Rebecca secured 3 major grants. The kitchens expanded to 8 locations across Montana. The housing program spread to 4 states. The scholarship fund now supported over 100 students. And Evelyn watched it all from a distance. Proud, grateful, but also grieving. Because she was learning to let go of something she'd poured her whole heart into. One evening, 6 months after her heart attack, Caleb stopped by. How are you feeling? He asked. Better, stronger. She smiled. Bored, he laughed. I figured. Rebecca's doing an incredible job. The initiative doesn't need me anymore. That's where you're wrong. He pulled out a folder. I've been working on something, and I need your input. What is it? A training program for other communities that want to replicate what we did here. We teach them the principles, the systems, the heart behind it all. He opened the folder, showed her the plans. And you're the lead trainer. Her heart skipped. Me. Who better? You're the one who started this. You're the one who knows what works and what doesn't. You're the one people trust. Caleb, I'm not a teacher. You've been teaching all along. You just called it helping. He leaned forward. This is the next phase, Evelyn. Not doing the work yourself, teaching others to do it, multiplying the impact. She stared at the plans, at the vision he was laying out. How many communities? She asked. We start with 10, then 50, then however many want to learn. That's ambitious. That's your legacy. She looked up at him. You really think I can do this? I know you can, because I've watched you do impossible things for 2 years. This is just the next impossible thing. She smiled, slow, real. When do we start? Next month, if you're ready. I'm ready. The training program launched in the spring. Evelyn traveled to 10 different towns, met with community leaders, shared her story, taught the principles. Listen first. Meet people where they are. Start small, build trust, never do for people what they can do for themselves. Always do what they can. The community soaked it up. Within 6 months, 5 of them had launched their own versions of the Harper Initiative. Within a year, all 10 had, and the requests kept coming. Evelyn found her rhythm. Travel 1 week a month, rest the other 3. Train, mentor, advise. It was different work than before, but it was still her work. One afternoon, she got a call from an unknown number. Mrs. Harper. Yes. This is Julia Martinez. I run a community center in Phoenix. I heard you speak 6 months ago, and I just wanted to tell you we've served over 10,000 meals since then, built a playground, started a scholarship fund, and it's all because you showed us it was possible. Evelyn's eyes filled. That's incredible, Julia. No, you're incredible. Thank you for showing us the way. After she hung up, Evelyn sat in silence. 10,000 meals, because she'd shared what she learned, because she'd taught others to do what she'd done. That night, she called Caleb. I think I finally understand what she said. Understand what you meant about legacy. It's not about me doing the work. It's about making sure the work continues, long after I'm gone. Exactly, she smiled. Thank you for pushing me, for believing in me, for not letting me give up when I wanted to. Thank you for saving my life. I didn't save your life. I just opened a door. Same thing. 2 years later, on a cold December night, Evelyn stood on her porch. The same porch where 5 strangers had knocked 4 years ago. She was 76 now. Slower, grayer, but happier than she'd ever been. The Harper Initiative was in 30 states, hundreds of communities, thousands of people fed, hundreds of homes repaired, over 500 scholarship recipients, all because she'd said yes to 5 freezing men. She heard footsteps behind her. Caleb appeared, handed her a cup of tea. What are you thinking about? He asked. That night, when you knocked. You ever regret it? Not for a second. They stood in comfortable silence, snow beginning to fall. You changed my life, you know, Caleb said quietly. You changed mine too. We changed each other. She smiled. I like that better. The snow fell harder, the wind picked up, and somewhere in the distance a car engine died. Headlights flickered. Evelyn watched, waited. A figure emerged from the car, started walking toward houses, looking for help. She stepped off the porch, called out. Are you okay? The person turned, a young woman, shivering. My car died. I'm freezing. Evelyn didn't hesitate. Come inside before you freeze. The woman's eyes widened. Really? Really? She followed Evelyn up the steps, into the warm house. Caleb met them at the door, handed the woman a blanket without a word. What's your name? Evelyn asked. Amy. I'm Evelyn, and you're safe here. Amy started crying. I don't understand. You don't even know me. I know enough. You're cold. You need help. That's all I need to know. Why would you do this? Evelyn smiled. Thought about that night 4 years ago, about 5 dangerous-looking men who turned out to be her greatest blessing. Because someone did it for me once, she said, and it changed everything. Amy stayed for 3 days. On the morning of the 4th, she sat across from Evelyn at the kitchen table, hands wrapped around a mug of coffee. I need to tell you something, Amy said quietly. Evelyn looked up from her newspaper. What is it? I wasn't just stranded, I was running. Evelyn set down the paper. From what? An abusive boyfriend. We've been together for 2 years. He started getting violent about 6 months ago. I kept making excuses, kept thinking he'd change. Her voice cracked. 3 nights ago, he put me in the hospital, and I knew if I went back next time, he'd kill me. So you left. I took my car and drove. No plan, no destination, just away. And then my car died right in front of your house. Amy looked up, tears streaming. It felt like fate. Evelyn reached across the table, took her hand. It wasn't fate, it was survival, and you were smart enough to take the chance when it came. But I have nothing, no money, no job, nowhere to go. You have more than you think. You have courage. You have life, and right now you have a choice about what comes next. What choice? You can keep running, or you can let people help you build something new. Amy wiped her eyes. I don't know how. Neither did I, but I learned, and so will you. That afternoon, Evelyn called Rebecca. I need your help with something. What's going on? Evelyn explained about Amy, about the abuse, about the need for safety and support. Rebecca didn't hesitate. We have a program for this: emergency housing, job placement, counseling. I can have everything set up by tomorrow. That fast? That's what we do, Evelyn. You taught us that. The next day, Amy moved into a small apartment paid for by the Harper Initiative. Rebecca connected her with a therapist. Danny helped her find a job at one of the community kitchens. Within a week, Amy was serving meals to people who reminded her of herself, lost, scared, looking for hope. How are you doing? Evelyn asked when she stopped by to visit. Amy was wiping down tables, a small smile on her face. Better, I feel useful. Like I matter. You do matter. I know that now, because you showed me. Amy set down the cloth. Mrs. Harper, can I ask you something? Anything. Why do you do this, really? What drives you to help strangers? Evelyn thought about the question. Really thought. Because I know what it's like to be invisible, she said finally. After my husband died, I felt like the world forgot I existed. People stopped calling, stopped visiting. I was just this old woman taking up space. And then 5 men knocked on my door and gave me a reason to matter again. She looked at Amy. Everyone deserves that. Everyone deserves to feel like they matter. And if I can give that to someone, even for a moment, then my life means something. Amy's eyes filled. You've given me more than a moment. You've given me a future. Then use it well. 2 months later, Evelyn got another call from an unknown number. Mrs. Harper, this is James Rodriguez from 60 Minutes. We'd like to do a story on you. Her stomach dropped. I don't think, please hear me out. The Harper Initiative is now in 32 states. You've helped thousands of people, changed entire communities. The country needs to hear this story, especially right now. Why especially now? Because we're more divided than ever. People have forgotten how to care about each other. And you're proof that one person can make a difference. That kindness still matters. Evelyn wanted to say no, hated the spotlight, hated being the center of attention. But she thought about Amy, about Marcus, about all the people whose lives had changed because someone decided to share the story. Okay, she said quietly, but on one condition. What's that? You don't make this about me. You make it about the work, about the people we've helped, about what's possible when we choose to care. Deal. The interview happened 3 weeks later. They filmed at the community kitchen, interviewed people Evelyn had helped. Sarah talked about how Evelyn had saved her life. Marcus called in from MIT. Garrett spoke about reconnecting with his daughter. And Caleb told the story of that night, the blizzard, the knock, the woman who'd opened the door without fear. When the interviewer turned to Evelyn, she was ready. Mrs. Harper, people are calling you a hero. What do you say to that? I say they're wrong. I'm not a hero. I'm just someone who decided that people matter more than fear. That's not heroic. That's human. We've just forgotten how to be human to each other. What would you say to someone watching this who wants to make a difference but doesn't know where to start? Evelyn looked directly into the camera. Start small. Start where you are. Look around and see who needs help. Then help them. Don't wait for permission. Don't wait for resources. Just start. Because every act of kindness ripples out in ways you can't imagine. And the world doesn't need more heroes. It needs more people willing to open the door. The segment aired on a Sunday night. 50 million people watched. By Monday morning, the Harper Initiative website had crashed from traffic. Donation requests flooded in. Volunteers signed up by the thousands. Rebecca called, overwhelmed. Evelyn, we can't keep up. The phones won't stop ringing. Then we hire more people. We don't have the infrastructure for this kind of growth. Then we build it, whatever it takes. We don't turn anyone away. Catherine stepped in, brought in consultants, helped Rebecca scale operations. Within 3 months, the Harper Initiative had a staff of 40, regional offices in 12 states, a national network of volunteers, and Evelyn was terrified. This isn't what I wanted, she told Caleb one night. What did you want? To help a few people, to make my corner of the world a little better, not to run national organization. You're not running it, Rebecca is. You're just the inspiration. I don't want to be an inspiration. I want to be useful. He looked at her carefully. What if they're the same thing now? She didn't have an answer. A week later, Danny showed up at her house. He looked worried. We have a problem. Evelyn's heart sank. What now? One of our community kitchens in Detroit, there was an incident. What kind of incident? A volunteer got into an argument with someone we were serving. It escalated. The volunteer said some things, ugly things, racist things. Danny's jaw clenched. It's all over social media. People are calling for us to shut down. Evelyn felt sick. Who was the volunteer? Someone local. We didn't vet him properly. He slipped through. Where is he now? Fired immediately, but the damage is done. Evelyn stood, grabbed her coat. Take me to Detroit. Now. They drove through the night, arrived in Detroit at dawn. The community kitchen was closed. Protesters outside, signs demanding accountability. Evelyn walked straight through them, into the building. The staff was inside, scared, angry, hurt. Who's in charge here? Evelyn asked. A woman stepped forward, mid-40s, black, exhausted. I am Denise Washington. Tell me what happened. Denise didn't sugarcoat it, explained how the volunteer had made a racist comment to a man seeking help, how other volunteers had confronted him, how he doubled down, how it had spiraled. We fired him immediately, Denise said, but people are saying we should have never hired him in the first place, that we don't care about the communities we serve. Do you care? Evelyn asked. Denise's eyes flashed. Of course I care. I've worked here for 6 months. I've served thousands of meals. I've held crying mothers and told them it'll be okay. Her voice broke. I care more than anything. Then show them. How? By owning the mistake, by apologizing, by doing better. Evelyn walked to the door, opened it, stepped outside. The protesters turned toward her. Who are you? Someone shouted. I'm Evelyn Harper, and I need to say something. The crowd quieted. What happened here yesterday was inexcusable. A volunteer representing our organization said things that were hateful, wrong, and harmful, and I take full responsibility for that. You should, someone yelled. You're right, I should, because we failed. We didn't vet our volunteers properly. We didn't create a culture where that behavior was impossible, and people got hurt because of our failure. She stepped closer to the crowd. But I'm not here to make excuses. I'm here to apologize and to promise you that we will do better. We will implement new training, new oversight, new accountability. And if we fail again, you hold us accountable. You demand better because you deserve better. A woman in the front row crossed her arms. Words are easy. What are you actually going to do? Whatever it takes, but I need your help. Because I can't fix this alone. I need to hear from you, from this community, about what you need, what we got wrong, how we can be better. The woman studied her. You really mean that? I really do. Slowly, the woman lowered her arms. Okay, let's talk. They talked for 3 hours. Evelyn listened, took notes, asked questions, apologized over and over. And by the end, something had shifted. The protesters became partners. They formed a community advisory board, made up of local residents who would oversee the kitchen, ensure accountability, make sure it served the community's actual needs. Denise led the effort, worked side by side with the people she'd been serving. Within a month, the Detroit kitchen was stronger than ever. And the model spread. Every Harper Initiative location formed advisory boards, gave power to the communities they served. It should have happened from the beginning, but sometimes you have to fail before you learn. 1 year later, on the 5th anniversary of that first night, Evelyn stood in the original community kitchen in Silver Tribune. The place was packed. Everyone who'd been part of the journey, Danny, Garrett with Emily and his new granddaughter, Eli. Marcus home from MIT for the weekend, Sarah and Amy now best friends and co-managers of the kitchen. Rebecca, Catherine, and Caleb standing beside her. 5 years ago tonight, Evelyn began. 5 strangers knocked on my door. I was alone, broke, barely surviving. And I had every reason to turn them away, but I didn't. And that choice changed my life in ways I never could have imagined. She looked around the room, at all the faces, all the lives touched. We've made mistakes. We've failed. We've had to learn hard lessons. But through it all, we've held on to one truth: people matter. Every single person who walks through our doors matters. And if we can make them feel seen, valued, and worthy, then we've done our job. The room erupted in applause. Caleb stepped forward. I have something to say too. The room quieted. 5 years ago, I was a billionaire who thought money could solve everything. I was successful by every measure, but I was empty. And then this woman, he gestured to Evelyn. This stubborn, impossible, beautiful woman showed me what real wealth looks like. It's not money, it's connection, it's purpose. It's waking up every day knowing you made someone's life a little better. He pulled out an envelope, which is why I'm announcing something tonight. The Caleb Rhodes Foundation is donating $100 million to the Harper Initiative to expand, to grow, to ensure this work continues for generations. Evelyn's hands flew to her mouth. The room exploded. Caleb turned to her. You opened a door, Evelyn. Now let's blow the roof off. She couldn't speak, just hugged him, held on tight. Later that night, after everyone had left, Evelyn sat on her porch. Snow was falling, gentle, quiet. Caleb joined her, handed her tea. How are you feeling? He asked. Overwhelmed? Grateful? Terrified? Terrified of what? That this is bigger than me, that I can't control it anymore. You were never supposed to control it. You were supposed to start it. And you did. He sat beside her. Now it has a life of its own, and that's exactly what it should be. She smiled. When did you get so wise? When you taught me. They sat in comfortable silence. A car drove by, slowed, kept going. You think anyone else will knock tonight? Caleb asked. Maybe, maybe not. But if they do, you'll open the door. Always. He looked at her. You know what you've proven, right? What? That ordinary people can do extraordinary things. That you don't need power or money or status to change the world. You just need to care and to act. He paused. You have given hope to millions of people, Evelyn. People who thought they didn't matter. People who thought kindness was dead. You proved them wrong. She leaned her head on his shoulder. I couldn't have done it without you. Yes, you could have, but I'm glad you didn't have to. The snow fell harder. Inside the house was warm. Outside, the world kept turning, and somewhere someone was making a choice, to help or to turn away, to open the door or keep it closed. Evelyn had shown them what was possible. Now it was up to them. 3 months later, Evelyn got a letter. No return address, postmarked from somewhere in Alaska. She opened it carefully. Inside was a handwritten note. Dear Mrs. Harper, you don't know me, but 5 years ago I read about you in the newspaper, about how you helped 5 strangers, and it changed my life. I was suicidal at the time, planning to end everything. But your story made me think, if one person can make that much difference, maybe my life isn't worthless. Maybe I can matter too. So I didn't do it. I got help instead. And now I volunteer at a homeless shelter. I help people the way you helped those men. I just wanted you to know you saved my life without ever meeting me. And I'll spend the rest of my life trying to pass that gift forward. Thank you. From the bottom of my heart. Thank you. Evelyn read it 3 times, then folded it carefully, put it in a box with all the other letters. Letters from people she'd helped directly, and people she'd helped without knowing. The ripples spreading out, further and further. She sat at her kitchen table, the same table where she'd served soup to 5 freezing men, the same table where she'd made the choice that changed everything. And she smiled, because she finally understood it was never about her. It was about the door. The one we all stand behind, deciding whether to open it or keep it closed. She'd opened hers, and the world had walked through. 5 years after that frozen night, Evelyn Harper wasn't famous. Not really. She wasn't rich. She wasn't powerful. But she mattered. And she'd taught thousands of others that they mattered too. That kindness wasn't weakness. That one person could spark a movement. That opening a door could save lives. Evelyn stood up, walked to her front door, opened it. Snow was falling again, another storm coming. She looked out at the street, at the town that had been dying and was now alive. at the lights and windows, at families safe and warm, all because someone had chosen to care. She stepped onto the porch, breathed in the cold air, and waited, because somewhere out there someone needed help. And when they knocked, she'd be ready. She'd always be ready. Because that's what you do when you understand that every person matters, that every choice ripples out, that every act of kindness changes the world in ways you'll never fully see. Evelyn Harper had learned that lesson on the coldest night of the year, and she would never forget it. The door stayed open, and the light kept burning, because in a world that often feels cold and dark and hopeless, sometimes all it takes is one person willing to say, "Come in," before you freeze. And everything changes.